All right, so welcome to today's teaching from Wealth in the Word. And today we are teaching on the story of Jacob and Esau and how Jacob steals Esau's blessing. We're turning to Genesis chapter 27. And this particular teaching is called The Feeling Gets the Blessing. We're going to be looking at this story from a metaphysical standpoint. If you have had difficulty manifesting in your life, then this story is for you. It's going to show you the connection between your feeling state and the frequency that you're operating at and how that actually affects your manifestation and your ability to get your blessing. It is going to show you how to shift identities from poor to rich, from unemployed to employed, to sad to happy. It's going to show you how to switch identities without actually being physically in the true identity that you want yet. And we can tap into that through the power of feelings. And feelings exist where? They exist within us. And we, as the powerful beings that we are, have the ability to shift our feeling state. And when you understand this story from a metaphysical standpoint, this is what we are going to get at. And once you understand that and unlock this code on how the feeling gets the blessing, not the action. Okay, the feeling gets the blessing. Action must follow afterwards, but we have to get into the frequency in the feeling state first. This story is going to blow your mind because you probably never heard it like this. I want to give a shout out to Neville Goddard and Reverend Ike for really introducing this divine download. A lot of the things that I share with you are original because I go straight to source and I get divine downloads. All the Rich and Righteous pretty much is a divine download and original thought. But this particular story, it was Neville Goddard and Reverend Ike who first broke it down and saw this depth in the scripture. And I'm happy to bring that to you already. I'm happy to bring that to you today. Okay. So with that, we're going to read Genesis chapter 27. We actually are going to have to read it in full. No, we're going to read it up to, I think, about verse 20. Uh, verse around verse 30. So I'm going to read today since we have a lot to cover and I want to get through it fast. So I'm going to read through it and then we're going to come and we're going to break this thing down. All right. We're going to read through it, then we're going to break this thing down. So we're on Genesis chapter 27, verse 1. And it came to pass that when Isaac was old and his eyes were dim, keep note of that. His eyes were dim, meaning that he could not, so that he could not see. He called Esau, his eldest son, and said unto him, My son. And he said unto him, Behold, here I am. And he said, Behold, now I am old. I know not the day of my death. Verse 3. And therefore take, I pray thee, thy weapon, thy quiver, and thy bow, and go out to the field and take some venison. Verse 4. And make me savory meat, such as I love, and bring it to me, that I may eat, that my soul may bless thee before I die. Verse 5. And Rebekah heard when Isaac spake to Esau his son, and Esau went to the field to hunt for venison and to bring it. Verse 6. And Rebekah spake unto Jacob her son, and saying, Behold, I heard thy father speak unto Esau thy brother, saying, Bring me venison and make me savory meat, that I may eat and bless thee before the Lord before my death. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice. Keep that in mind. Obey my voice according to that which I command thee. Verse 9. Go now to the flock and fetch me from thence two good kids of the goats, and I will make them savory meat for thy father, such as he loveth. Verse 10. And thou shalt bring it to thy father, that he may eat, and that he may bless thee before his death. And Jacob said to Rebekah his mother, Behold, Esau my brother is a hairy man, and I am a smooth man. My father peradventure will fill me, and I shall seem to him as a deceiver. Keep that in mind. Okay. And I shall bring a curse upon me and not a blessing. And his mother said unto him, Upon me be thy curse, my son, only obey my voice. You hear that again, right? And go fetch me them. Verse 14. And he went and fetched and brought them to his mother, and his mother made savory meat, such as his father loved. And Rebekah took goodly raiment of her eldest son Esau, which were with her in the house. And where was it? In the house. Keep that in mind. And put them upon Jacob, her younger son. Verse 16, and she put the skins of the kids of the goats upon his hands and upon the smooth of his neck. Verse 17, and she gave the savory meat and the bread which she had prepared into the hand of her son Jacob. And he came unto his father and said, my father. He said, here I am. Here I am. Same thing his brother Esau had said earlier. Who art thou, my son? And Jacob said unto his father, I am Esau, thy firstborn. I have done according as thou badest me. Arise, I pray thee, sit and eat of my venison, and that thy soul may bless me. Verse 20. And Isaac said unto his son, how is it that thou hast found it so quickly, my son? Keep that in mind, so quickly, okay? Highlight that or underline that. So quickly, my son. And he said, because the Lord thy God brought it to me. And Isaac said unto Jacob, come near, I pray thee, that I may feel thee. Uh-oh. The feeling is the blessing, that I may feel thee, my son, whether thou be my very son Esau or not. Verse 22, and Jacob went near unto Isaac his father, and he felt him and said, the voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau. Verse 23, and he discerned him not, because his hands were hairy, and his brother's Esau's hands, as his brother's Esau's hands, so he blessed him. And he said, art thou my very son Esau? And he said, I am. The two most powerful words in the English language that we can use to change our state are what? I am. And he said, bring it near to me, and I will eat of my son's venison, that my soul may bless thee. And he brought it near to him, and he did eat. And he brought him wine, and he drank. And his father and Isaac said unto him, come near now and kiss me, my son. Verse 27, and he came near and kissed him, and he smelled the smell of the raiment. Keep that in mind. And blessed him and said, see, the smell of my son is the smell of a field which the Lord hath blessed. Therefore, God give thee the dew of the heaven and the fatness of the earth and the plenty of the corn and wine. Let the people serve thee and the nations bow down to thee. Be Lord over thy brethren, and let thy mother's son bow down to thee. Cursed be everyone that curseth thee, and blessed be he that blesseth thee. And it came to pass, as soon as Isaac had made an end of the blessing, and Jacob was yet scarce gone out from the presence of Isaac his father, that Esau his brother came in from hunting. And he also had made savory meat and brought it forth unto his father, and said unto his father, let my father arise and eat of his son's venison, that thou soul may bless me. And Isaac his father said unto him, who art thou? And he said, I am thy son, thy firstborn Esau. And Isaac trembled verily exceedingly, and said, who? Where is he that hath taken venison and brought it to me? And I have eaten of all before that camest, and have blessed him. Yea, yes, and he shall be blessed. And then Esau heard the words of his father. He cried with great and exceeding bitter cry, and said unto his father, bless me, even me also, O my father. And he said, thy brother came with subtlety, and hath taken away thy blessing. And he said, it is not right. It is not the rightly named Jacob, for he hath supplanted me these two times. He took away my birthright, and behold, now he taketh away my blessing. Woo. So in these times, the oldest and the eldest got the blessing from the father. And I think they got a double portion, right? And so just by being the oldest, you were in greater stance, right? A greater standing as your father was about to transition. But it appears on the surface, when you look at this story from a literal standpoint, that Jacob and his mother, Rebekah, who is also Esau's mother, somehow tricked Isaac, the father, to give the blessing to the younger. And so we have to ask ourselves, what does this story really, really mean? Well, the title of what I'm going to teach you right now is called The Feeling Gets the Blessing. The feeling gets the blessing. And we want to walk through this from a metaphysical standpoint, from a metaphysical standpoint. All right. And so I want to share my screen with you. And for those of you who are on YouTube or on Instagram, you can go to thespiritualexperience.com/Zoom, thespiritualexperience.com/Zoom, if you want to see the full teaching. I'm sharing my screen now. I won't be able to show it on social media. So come on over and join us there. Okay. So when we study the text from a metaphysical standpoint, we look at the names of the characters and their meanings in Hebrew. And so, as you can see, I have Isaac. I have Isaac here. I have Isaac. Excuse me. I have Isaac, Rebecca, Jacob, and Esau. Right. And so Isaac means laughter, right? He will laugh, social felicity. Rebecca, tied up, secured. Jacob, he who sets his own, he who sets his own heel grabber, a heel down, who closely follows others, he who hides his own intentions, he who manipulates feelings of others. And Esau, doer, maker, worker. Doer, maker, worker. And when you think about how you were taught to manifest, how are you taught to manifest? Or how are you taught to produce in this physical reality? You're taught to produce by doing, making, and working. But when you truly understand manifestation, that is like the second or third step, right? It is not the first step to true manifestation. And so we're going to go through that. So now what we want to look at from a metaphysical standpoint is, by metaphysical means we're going beyond the physical. Meta means beyond, above or beyond, right? And we're going beyond the physical. We're going beyond the literal interpretation of this story as somebody's blessing being stolen. So what we want to look at how this story reflects the various aspects of the mind. And so when you think about it, right? When you think about it, what aspect of the mind do you think Isaac represents? What aspect of the mind would Isaac represent? Isaac, what do we know about Isaac? We know that Isaac was blind. And so what aspect of the mind is blind? What aspect of the mind is blind? There we go. The subconscious mind is blind. It is a blind servant. Now, of course, Isaac was or represented the conscious mind at one point in his life, but now in the transition, as he's about to die, he's now blind. That's the reason that that point is there in the story, is that his sight was going. And this is how the subconscious mind operates. Okay. Now, what would if Isaac represents the subconscious mind, what would Rebecca, his wife, represent? What would Rebecca, his wife, represent? Rebecca, his wife, which is kind of operating like the behind the scenes Holy Spirit, would actually represent the superconscious God mind, who's able to see this entire situation play out and have her hand in the situation. Are y'all seeing this? Probably never looked at the story at this level, okay? Most people only look at this story literally, all right? Now, Jacob then would represent what? We have two other aspects of the mind left. Jacob would represent what? Yes, Andrea's been with me, so she knows. Jacob represents the conscious mind, and Esau then finally represents what? Esau finally represents what? The unconscious mind, the body. Okay. So Esau represents the unconscious mind, the body that thinks that the only way to produce is by going out and hunting and actually working and doing. Jacob represents the mind, and the mind is the second born. So your physical body comes first, then your younger mental body comes after. Rebecca represents the superconscious or the Holy Spirit or that inner voice. And what did Rebecca say throughout the story? What was the language pattern that Rebecca used throughout the story? What language pattern did Rebecca use throughout the story? She said, obey my voice, right? Obey. And then in verse 13, she said, only obey my voice. Only obey my voice. Now, how do you know that she represents God in this story? Is because if you go back to Genesis 22:18 or Genesis 26, verse 5, which is just a chapter before, 22:18 reads, and in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because thou hast obeyed my voice. That was God speaking. Genesis 26:5 says, because Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, and my statutes and my laws. So that was God speaking. And so the next person to use that same language pattern is Rebecca. So Rebecca is actually representing God, or the superconscious mind, in this particular story. And then we know that Isaac represents the blind subconscious mind, which is the servant, yet he is the father at the same time. All right. So I know this is new for a lot of people, but once you see this metaphor play out, right, in this particular story, you're going to be able to see it in many of the stories, in many of the allegories, and many of the parables. Even if we go to the parable of the sower, when Yeshua is talking about the parable of the sower, is he really talking about seeds and soil? No, he's using seeds and soil because he talks to a lot of people who work the land, right? But the seeds represent what? They represent thoughts. And the rich soil represents a receptive subconscious mind. The hard soil represents, or the hard path represents, a hard-headed person. And so if you try to plant a seed on rock, it will not be able to take root. But when you plant seed in a receptive subconscious mind, this is what allows it to bear 30, 60, and 100-fold. So you're going to be able to start to see how you can look at the stories in the Bible from a metaphysical standpoint, and now they have more meaning to you because you don't just see them as historical events, right? You see how they're actually playing out in your own creation process of the world that you experience on a daily basis. Okay, so moving forward, Rebecca spoke to her son, right, and she's choosing Jacob over Esau. Now, you would think that a mother would be impartial, right? But she's choosing the conscious mind over the unconscious mind. Esau is representative of our animalistic base self. And Rebecca, being that she represents the superconscious, is now able to see that the conscious must rule over the unconscious mind. But when we have life backwards, what happens? Our body dictates what we eat. Our body dictates how angry we are, and there is no conscious thought. But the true pattern is supposed to be spirit, mind, body. Spirit, mind, body. But oftentimes we, in our animalistic nature as human beings, we allow the body to dominate and lead us, and this is what leads us astray. And so Rebecca, having the wisdom that the conscious mind, which is actually stays at home, while the unconscious mind is always outside of the house, right? What does house represent from a metaphysical standpoint? The house represents what? The mind. And so who was at home and who was outside of the home? Who was at home and who was outside of the home? Jacob was at home with his mother. This wasn't a sissified boy. What this represents is that Jacob was actually in the house. Jacob was actually in the mind, whereas Esau was external. Esau is the body, it's the external. That's what Esau represents in this story. Okay? Jacob stayed at home, close to the mother and the father. Right? So, moving forward, so this is not about a mother. It's not about a technical mother choosing one child over the other. This is representative of the conscious mind being inside the house, inside the mind, with the superconscious and with the subconscious, whereas the unconscious mind is our flesh and is the external. Is this making sense? Is this making sense? Cool. So, oops, I almost gave it away to you. All right. So, now, when we talk about the things that Rebecca used to replicate the subconscious's desires, what did Rebecca use? Isaac initially wanted venison, right? But what did Rebecca and Jacob have? Isaac wanted venison, but what did Rebecca and Jacob have access to? They had access to goats that were nearby, right? Their own goats, right? Now, the next thing that came up was that Jacob was worried that his brother was hairy and he was not. And what did she use to make up for that? What did she use to make up for that? She also used the goat skin. So she's using the goat to replace the venison, but she's also using another aspect of the goat, which is the hairiness of the goat, to now mimic Esau's hairy skin. Okay? Are y'all seeing this? And then Esau is out, and Esau has a smell of the field, right? And so what does she tell Jacob to put on? What does she tell Jacob to put on? What does she tell Jacob to put on? She tells Jacob to put on his brother's raiment, his brother's clothing. And throughout the Bible, you will be able to start to see that clothing represents an emotional state. Other kind of clothing that was significant in the Bible is the hem of Yeshua's garment, where the woman with the issue of blood, she just wanted to touch the hem. And she wanted, what that represents is her wanting to touch and access the emotional state of Christ, right? Even so much so that he said, who touched me? Because power has left me. There was a high emotional state that she wanted to have access to. She believed that if she touched that emotional state, she was able to reach that emotional state, that she would be healed. And then we have Jacob's, or Joseph, excuse me, coat of many colors. I won't get into what that means right here and right now, but we have Joseph's coat of many colors. And so clothing throughout the Bible, when you start to see it representative of emotional state, then you'll start to understand that he was accessing Esau's frequency by putting on Esau's garment. It wasn't just about putting on Esau's clothes, it was about tapping into Esau's frequency. So when you think about the way Rebecca moved, when you were trying to shift from one state to another, from I am poor to I am rich, to I am alone to I have friends, I have community, I have a partnership, right? From I am sad to I am happy or I am joyful. When you were trying to shift from one state to another, what this is telling us, family, is that you have to use what is in or around the house. The only way to get from here to there is from here. The only way to get from here to there is from here. So you have to look around what is within arm's reach. See, many people think that the process of manifestation means that they go from here to here just like that in one step. That's not how it happens. That's not how it happens. Imagine rock climbing and you're at the base of the mountain or the wall and you're trying to get to the top. And just because you can't reach from here to here immediately, you just give up. When you are rock climbing, right? When you are rock climbing, what has to happen? You reach for the next thing that is in reach. From here to here, I go from depressed to sad to indifferent to okay to good to great to exaltation. You have to work your way up in frequency because emotions are just emotions, right? They're electromagnetic motions. They are frequencies. So you just have to grab on to the next highest frequency that you can grab onto. So this is what you're seeing here is that Rebecca is grabbing the things that she has access to represent and get to the state that she ultimately wants her son to be in. Are y'all with me? Are y'all with me? Okay. So watch this. Watch this. This is what Neville Goddard and Reverend Ike did not speak on. This is the divine download that I got on top of what they taught in terms of breaking down the feeling it's the blessing. Watch this. When you were trying to shift into a new state of being, a new identity, a new I amness, right? What did Jacob say? I am Esau, right? I am. When you're trying to step into it, the way to step into it is to access the five senses. Actually, you only need four of them. And you see all of them here in the story. Watch this. When you look at the five senses, which of the five senses was Jacob able to access to replicate or step into the identity of Esau? In terms of taste, how did Jacob replicate taste? Instead of venison, they made savory meat of goat, right? Two kid goats. And then how did Jacob access touch? Through hairy skin, right? Then how did Jacob access smell? Through the smell of the savory meat. And then how did Jacob access hearing? He used his own voice because he could not replicate Esau's voice. But it was close enough that the father was willing to accept that he was Esau. You can't trade out your voice for someone else's. And when you are manifesting something and you're trying to get to some place that you've never been before, some place that you've never seen before, you've only seen it in your mind, you do not need sight. You do not need sight. Remember, Isaac is blind. But if you can tap into the other four senses and get a sense of what it tastes like, what kind of things will you be eating when you're this kind of person? Right? What kind of things would you be touching? How will your 50,000 thread sheets feel? How will your couch feel? How will your significant other feel? Physically and emotionally. What will be the smell in your environment? What will you hear yourself saying as you step into this new identity? What kind of conversations will you be hearing? What kind of things will you be hearing in your environment? You can tap in to the other four senses without actually having seen that thing. And what did Jacob say? What did Isaac say when the food came so fast? I told you to take a note there, right? And he said in verse 20, how is it that thou hast found it so quickly? How is it that thou hast found it so quickly? Here's how, family. You can access feeling from right where you are. You don't have to wait to be rich, to be abundant, to be fruitful, to be productive. You can actually get into that feeling and that frequency right now. In the dictionary, there is no definition of philanthropist. We think that all philanthropists are rich, right? Have millions of dollars. There's no financial number of philanthropists in the dictionary. It doesn't say you have to have $1 million net worth to be a philanthropist. So when you give $1, $2, $5 to the homeless person on the freeway, and you don't do it out of guilt, you do it out of your richness. Guess what? You are tapping into that frequency without being a millionaire yet. You've been seeking love in your life? Well, you have to be the love first. So that may be loving on your family member, maybe calling your siblings and checking in on them. and you getting into the frequency of love, which is thinking about others. And in some cases, not from a self-sacrificial standpoint, but putting others before you. So you might not have the love that you want in your life in terms of a partnership yet, but you can still be in the frequency of love. There's ways for you to tap into the frequency of love right here and right now. And if you start staying in that frequency, then guess what's going to come into your reality? Love will have to come into your reality because you are now operating at the frequency of love. If you are in lack right now, financially or in any other way, then guess what? You can actually start to be grateful right here and right now, because great gratitude is the opposite of scarcity. Are you grateful for, have you been grateful for your breath? Have you been grateful for your clothes? Have you been grateful for the food in your refrigerator? These are the things that you can grab onto right now within reach, within your house, within your mind, that can start to move you out of the frequency or the identity that you're now in. So this is how he got it so quickly, because you can access feeling faster than you can access the actual experience. And if you really think about it, most of us only want these experiences of, I want this kind of house, this kind of house, this kind of car, this kind of person, because of what? Everything that we really, really want, what's really behind it? A feeling. So you start to realize that it's not that thing that you actually want, it's actually the feeling that you want. And I can access that feeling quicker than me trying to go get that thing. Now, once I access that feeling and I stay in that frequency long enough, then that thing becomes part of my reality, and it just becomes a reminder to stay in this feeling frequency. But it's never that thing is not what I actually wanted. I wanted the feeling anyways. And so I couldn't access that feeling as frequently as I desired back in the day, but I accessed it a little bit and I held on to it enough, and I kept doing that more frequently. I started keeping a gratitude journal, and all of a sudden I became so grateful that everything that I desired started coming to me. It was easier for me to access the gratitude within reach of me than to go chase that thing, hoping that that thing would make me grateful. You think that that person is going to make you feel love. No, you have to access love first in order to attract that person. You think that that job or that business is going to make you rich. No, you have to get in the frequency of being rich before you actually can step into the reality, the physical reality of it. It can be a reality in your mind and your heart before it is a physical reality for you. Most people think it's the other way around. And you can hear it in their language pattern. I'll be happy when. I'll be happy when this thing happens, when I get this. No, family. It's how am I happy now? How can I access happiness here and now? And if I stay in that frequency of happiness here and now, then guess what? Those things that I thought would make me happy, because they are on the frequency of happiness in my vision of the world, they will start to come to me energetically. I hope I didn't lose nobody. So in verse 12, my father peradventure will fill me, right? How does God know where you're at? How does God know where you're at? He says it right here. He will fill you. See, some of you say affirmations about wealth consistently, but what's lacking? You're doing the ritual, you're saying the affirmation, you have a vision board, but what's missing? The feeling isn't there. In fact, for some people, their vision board reminds them of what they don't have. It's supposed to remind you of the presence of, that thing is already in your reality. You've already put it in, as Abraham Hicks calls, your vortex, that it's already here. It's just manifesting over time. But for some people, they look at their vision board is actually doing the opposite of what they thought it should do, because it reminds them that they don't have a man, they don't have a woman, they don't have that house, they don't have that car, they haven't been to that country yet. And it puts them in a feeling or frequency of lack as opposed to one of abundance and presence. God is not some big man in the sky. So how does God know you? God knows you by how you feel. God knows you based on your frequency. Not the rituals that you're doing, not the religion that you're part of. God knows you based on how you feel. The universe, what did Tesla say? To truly understand the universe, you got to know vibration, frequency. I'm paraphrasing. Once you understand vibration and frequency, you'll be able to unlock the secrets of the universe. I actually don't want to misquote, so let me actually go get the quote. I want to get the quote because it is critical. Tesla frequency. The way he said it is, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. That's Nikola Tesla, one of the greatest thought leaders ever. Okay? So Jacob, within the house, within the mind, was able to tap into taste through the goat, and it was not venison, right? So what did he do? He got the closest thing he could get to that which he wanted. He got the closest thing he could get to that which he actually wanted. And so my challenge to some of you, right, is you may not have the house that you want yet. But how about you make one of the bedrooms in the house that you do have one like the house that you want? How about you go get that hotel quality pillow? How about you go change your shower head and make it one that is really, really nice? Change the faucets on your sink. You might not be able to buy the whole thing yet, but you can go access elements of it right here and right now. Is this making sense? Okay. So I am, here I am, here I am, here I am, right? Here I am. You have to assume the identity of that which you want. The way you become it or the way you get it is not to go and get it. I'm a go-getter. No, you be it. And once you be it, right, then you start to do the things that somebody who has those things would do. And then you ultimately have those things. Most people only skip straight to the doing, or they even try to scam their way to just having without any doing. But the real secret is you must become it for it to come to be. So I want to step into the, even though I'm not rich yet, I want to step into the identity of somebody who is rich. This is not a fake it till you make it play. Because when you fake it till you make it, oh, rich people got Gucci belts, I'm gonna go get a Gucci belt. Rich people got this, I'm gonna go get this. And you're trying to do it by having the things that rich people do while you still, your core identity is still not one of richness. In fact, when you put on the Gucci belt, in fact, when you put on that thing that you know you couldn't afford or you got the fake version of, it actually reminds you of your poverty. It reminds you of your poverty. It doesn't entice you to be rich. It doesn't tell you that I'm rich. And you might be able to deceive a few people out there, right? And this is where we talk about in verse 12. He said, I shall seem to him as a deceiver, and it shall bring a curse upon me and not a blessing. This is where imposter syndrome comes in, because you feel like you are trying to be somebody that you're not yet. You feel that you are trying to be somebody that you're not yet. But again, this is not fake it until you make it. Okay? It is be it until you see it, or feel it until you fulfill it. Feel it until you fulfill it. Everybody type that in. Faith it until you make it. You don't have to fake anything, because that's where imposter syndrome will come in. And imposter syndrome is a low frequency because you know that you're not that. You're just trying to convince other people, even though you know. And the universe doesn't respond to how other people think about you. The universe and God only responds to how you feel about you. This is why fake it till you make it does not last. Yeah, some people, you might deceive some people and get further along because you faked it. But as you go on that journey, you know it's a lie. Okay? So in verse 18, he came to his father and said, "My father," and he said, "Here I am. Who art thou, my son?" Now, his father kept asking, who he was. And on your journey of life, God will continue to ask, "Who are you? Who are you? Who are you?" And you have to continue to answer, "I am." See, God is infinite. This is why God says, "I am that I am, 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 that I am." Because the moment you put a label on something, you start to move your life in that direction. But it's not just the verbal words. Words are frequencies. It is actually the inner frequency that really dictates whether you are that thing or not. God is the infinite I amness. God can become anything. I am that I am, that I am, that I am, that I am. But when we choose these labels, these feelings, I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm sick, I'm rich, I'm poor, I'm broke, I'm this, I'm that, I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor. These labels, and we teach this in Rich and Righteous, these labels actually limit us. So when you use the language pattern of I am, you need to be very, very mindful. Because the subconscious mind, which is the blind servant, which is represented by Isaac in this story, doesn't care if it is true or false in the physical realm. The subconscious mind, because it represents the heart mind, only responds to how you feel about it. You may say that you love money or you want to be rich, but if you hate rich people, right, that is a negative frequency. Hate is one of the worst, lowest negative frequencies that there is. So while your mouth verbally, even though words or frequencies may say this, it is canceled out by your hate for rich people. So again, as Tesla said, the universe responds to your feeling, your vibration, and your frequency. All right. So God is always asking you who you are. And you want to know something? In every single moment, you have the choice to change what you say after I am. You have the choice. And if you go into the New Testament in the Gospels, what is Yeshua always asking his disciples? Who do you say I am? So there's this conversation happening between you and God. Who are you? Who do you say I am? Who are you? Who do you say I am? Who are you? Who do you say I am? That is the conversation between us and God constantly. Who am I today? Who am I in this moment? How am I going to show up? Am I operate from my Esau? Am I operate from my Jacob? Am I operate from my lower self? Am I operate from my higher self? And then regardless of the situation that I'm in, who is God to me? Is God greater than this situation? Because if God is greater than the situation to me, then guess what? This situation is irrelevant. I have nothing to worry about because I know that all things are working together for my good. Okay. So Isaac says unto Jacob in verse 21, "Come near, I pray ye, that I may feel thee." I may feel thee. This is about feeling. The blessing is going to be given based on who feels right, not who is right, but who feels right. And then when we come to listening or hearing, you can't change your voice. You can't change your voice. Your voice is always going to be your voice. And so he says, the voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau. So when you, as a conscious mind, are speaking to your subconscious mind, you are speaking in your own voice. I saw KRS One do this. I need everybody right now to say, I am love. I need you to say it out loud. I am love. I am love. Say it out loud. I am love. Okay? Now I need you to say it from your conscious mind, because that's what's thinking right now. I need you to say it to your subconscious mind, to your heart mind, without any audio, without moving your lips, without opening your mouth. I just want you to say it inside yourself. Say it 3 times inside yourself. Ready? Now say, I'm rich inside yourself. Did you hear yourself inside yourself? Did you hear yourself inside yourself? That's your voice. That's your voice. You can't change that voice. But you have the ability as the conscious mind to actually speak to the subconscious mind and to have a relationship with the superconscious mind. This is the beauty of manifestation. Okay? The subconscious mind, which is the blind servant, is going to believe you based on how you make it feel. And you get the opportunity to tap into feeling instantaneously. If you want to stop feeling sad, guess what? You can stop feeling sad right now. Now, that does not mean go from sad to happy. It just means going from sad to okay and staying in okay a little bit. Then once you held the frequency of okay and you didn't dip back down to sad, then you go to decent. I'm okay, now I'm decent, right? And you hold that frequency long enough, right? Till it becomes your way of being and you're making choices from that frequency, then you work your way up. In this book I found, it says, whatever is observed through the senses of sight, smell, touch, taste, or hearing conveys immediately a definite impression to the conscious mind, which, having the power of willing and therefore the privilege of selection, can either accept or reject the impression. If the impression is accepted, it is instantly passed over to the subconscious mind for adoption. This is how Jacob was able to access and create the identity of Esau faster than Esau could do by going outside, doing, working, etc., and then coming back. You can access feeling faster than you can access or create through work. Now, when you combine faith and works, we know faith without works is dead. When you combine faith and works, that's life. Because true faith and true identity leads to a new way of doing. When you accept the identity that I am rich, that I'm not poor, I am rich, it will automatically, that new identity will change what you do. And that doing now then confirms that is one of the ways to confirm that you are rich. And then you get another confirmation, which is when you start to have things that rich people have, right? That's another confirmation that you are already rich. But the seed is you getting into the feeling and the frequency that you are rich already. Even the URL for Rich and Righteous is rich right now. Not rich tomorrow, not rich in 5 years, not rich later. richrightnow.com. The URL for the book is richrightnow.com, because the only way that you will have the things that rich people have is by recognizing that you are rich right now. That's what this story really represents. It represents a relationship between the unconscious body, right? The unconscious mind, which is represented by the body that is purely reactive to life, the conscious mind, right? But the body is the firstborn. The reason the body is the firstborn, because our spirit, we're spiritual beings having a human experience, our spirit had to have something to come into. So the body, the Esau, the red man, is the firstborn. But then we must be born again. And we elevate into consciousness, what we call Christ consciousness. There's consciousness, but the highest level of consciousness in our teaching is Christ consciousness, where you are able to make choices. And Christ consciousness is the bridge between you and the superconscious. Now, the conscious mind is not as powerful as a subconscious mind, as the mother, Rebecca. It's not as powerful. In fact, Rebecca is the one dictating and saying, obey my voice. The conscious mind is not as powerful, but the conscious mind has executive authority over the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind runs 95% of your life automatically. And the subconscious mind was needed. And here's why. It was needed because when you were a baby, who was going to get you, who was going to operate your lungs and your heart and all the functions of your body and all those things? How did you know to swim when you were first right out the womb? How did you know to swim? The subconscious mind was handling all of that in the background. And then you elevate, you grow up, and you start to develop consciousness and awareness. And there's levels of consciousness. We want to have Christ consciousness. We want to be as close to Christ consciousness as possible, because when you're close to Christ consciousness, you're actually able to access the super conscious mind, which is the God mind. And now you're operating from the highest level possible. So we have the unconscious, we have the conscious, actually, we have the subconscious, then we have the conscious, which is actually more powerful because it has executive authority over the subconscious and the unconscious. And then we have the superconscious, which is the God mind. And if we can get in alignment where all of the things that we desire are actually coming from the superconscious, that they are in alignment with God's will, then so shall it be. Then so shall it be. All right. So if you have been struggling, to have the things that you desire, we step into this new year and you realize that some of the things on your last year's New Year's resolutions didn't manifest, instead of actions, I want you to focus on feelings. Instead of focusing on actions, I want you to focus on feelings and how you can get into the feeling frequency of the thing that you desire right now with what you have. And if you do that, what you will find is that the things that you desire start coming to you naturally, because like attracts like. If you don't like what you're getting on the radio station that your life is currently turned on, you don't like the songs and the communications and the experiences that are coming across that frequency, it is up to you to turn the frequency until you find a station or reach a higher station that gives you more of what you want. That is really all you have control over, and it is within your reach. It is within your house. It is within your mind. You start with what you have. You don't need anything outside of yourself, because the only way to get to there is from here. That is today's teaching, family. The feeling gets the blessing. The feeling gets the blessing. The feeling gets the blessing. I hope that blessed you. I hope that put you at a higher state of frequency. That's what we're here to do. We underestimate the power of our feelings. And unfortunately, most of our feelings, if we haven't trained our mind properly, are negative, strong and negative. And we want to make them strong and positive. We want to make them strong and in congruency with that which we truly want. Focus on your emotional state, your feeling state. Thought plus energy equals manifestation. Thought plus emotion equals manifestation. Emotions are where the energy comes from, that thought. This is part of the reason why you don't manifest, is because you might have had a thought, but there was no emotional charge behind it. And I also want you to be patient with yourself. Because listen, family, if you manifested as quickly as you thought, some of you would be in some very dark situations right now. If all thoughts manifested instantly, you've had some negative thoughts today. So what you want in the positive, it would have to follow that same law, and it would also have to manifest in the negative. And since we don't have full control of our minds yet, since we haven't elevated to Christ consciousness where we have dominion over our territory, which is our mind, every room in our house is not clean yet. We actually do not want to manifest instantly. We actually want some delay between the thought and the thing so that we can actually negate some of the thoughts that we have. And the thoughts that we put tie an emotion to, now that thought is charged. And now that manifestation is underway. But it's not just putting gas in the tank one time. You have to continue that emotional charge. That frequency, right? That what you frequently do becomes your frequency. So there's repetition there. And how do they say you reprogram the subconscious mind? Through repetition. So it's not just I had a thought and I got excited about it, right? Just like many gym memberships, I had a thought to get healthy. I got excited about it for 2 weeks and now I've fallen off. That's not frequency. That's a one hitter quitter, right? And sometimes you can get enough momentum in that first 2 weeks off of all of that hype and it carry you forward. But for most people, they sputter out. So frequency is about how do I manage my emotional state every single day to make sure that I show up at the gym. If my identity is I am healthy, right? And I choose from that identity what I do, then ultimately I will have what somebody who is healthy has. All right. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So I am in deep gratitude for you being here today and hearing this message. I would love to get your number one takeaway. Your number one takeaway in chat. I wasn't even looking at chat. I was tapped into source, and so I was just channeling, and also my notes because I study and I do a lot of work to prepare for these moments. I don't just show up here and just wing it. I do a lot of work to make sure that these divine downloads get translated in various ways through stories, through parables, through language, new language that I can give you, right? So that you can anchor these lessons into your way of being, which ultimately shapes how you live, move, and have your being in source. All right. So again, for those of you who are new to the family, we actually have Bible study every single day, every single weekday, excuse me. Every single weekday, we have Bible study, and you can join us at new260.com. That's new260.com. Every weekday at 8 a.m., we are on our new YouTube channel, and you can sign up to be part of that, and that'll get you some email updates. Paidforpurpose.com, paidforpurpose.com. We're doing a 4-day Paid for Purpose challenge where I'll help you find your God-given purpose and understand and learn how to get paid for that. And so that starts tomorrow at 7 p.m. for VIP and 8 p.m. for 8 p.m. for those who are just general admission. So that's Paid for Purpose. And then for those of you who are in Atlanta, you can go to purpose to paid.com purposetopay.com. I'll be doing that live in Atlanta on February 1st, and I'll be doing it live in Houston on March 1st. All right. So I just want to keep you in the loop about what's going on. Oh yeah, Bible on the Beltline is also January 18th. January 18th, next Saturday, Bible on the Beltline for those of men who are in Atlanta. This is particularly for the men. I know I have to dedicate more energy to them to create balance in this community. And so, Bible on the Beltline is next Saturday from 10 to 1 p.m. So, we're doing a lot of good out here in the world, family. We're doing a lot of good out here in the world to help people get closer to God and grow spiritually. And so, these are the ways. Again, every Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time here, with the exception of the fifth Sunday of the month. We're online every weekday at 8 a.m. doing Bible study. We're New 260. We're reading a chapter of the New Testament. We got some events coming up, some virtual, some in person, and we got Bible on the Beltline next Saturday. All right. So with that, if you want to contribute to the work that we're doing in any way, I'll leave this up here for 30 seconds. There's no requirement. There's no compulsion. We never want you to give out of guilt, but if you love what we're doing and you like how we're showing up and you believe that we need to do more, then feel free to contribute. Those are the different avenues. We got a Cash App, we got a Venmo, we got PayPal, and then we have a debit and credit card, or we have a website that you can go to, thespiritualexperience.com. But we are in no need. We are in no need. We actually There actually are some organizations that we want to give to. That's really what we're doing it for. We seek to give to organizations and to people who are here in Atlanta. We've given sleeping bags to the homeless. We've given sleeping bags to the homeless during Thanksgiving. And we also fed many families in Nairobi, Kenya, when we went there a month ago. And so we are just gathering resources, basically, to give resources out to people who are in need, not only to nonprofits, but directly to people who are struggling. There's some people whose electricity bills are going to be exorbitant due to the cold fronts. We may figure out how to contribute to the fires, find the right organization to contribute to people in need after the fires in Los Angeles. So this is just an aggregation of our resources so that we can give at greater levels. So that is there. But again, no, there's no need here. This is completely a love offering. This spiritual experience is a love offering to help you grow spiritually. I'm just inviting you in on basically my journey, my studies, so that you can be on this journey with me. There are a lot of people out here doing it alone, and we're here to serve the unchurched, people who identify as spiritual folks, and those who want to be Christ-like Christians. And all of those journeys can be very lonely journeys. And we decided to create a community that creates a safe space for all of those people to come together and seek to be Christ-like. That is our compass here in the spiritual experience, is to be Christ-like. And we believe that studies like this and going straight into the text and skipping a lot of the hoopla that happens in some of these religious spaces and focusing directly on the text is where we're going to get the richest understanding of what it means to bring the kingdom of heaven here on earth. All right. So with that, I send you all love. Have a blessed week. I hope to see some of you in the 4-day Purpose to Pay challenge. And I hope to see some of you at our event in Atlanta or Houston. And for the brothers that are in Atlanta, or if you know any brothers in Atlanta, send them to Bible on the Beltline. All right. Love y'all so much. See you tomorrow morning for New 260 for those of you who are joining us there. And otherwise, I'll see the rest of you next Sunday. All right. Much love. Peace.